Ladies and gentlemen, today we will start a new forum called Speaking the Truth Forum. Because since the human society crossed the threshold of 21st century, the change of world situation has accelerated very drastically. And we even witness many strange reversal phenomena. Some countries used to be the great leader of international justice, but now become big liars of the international society. And these countries have controlled the mainstream press for many decades. So these years, we found the international society is full of lies and fake justice. Through years, we have tried to unveil these lies and point out the fake justice, but we have no access to the mainstream press, so we can't get our voice out. But luckily, we found YouTube is a wide open platform, and through which we can access to the international society. Though YouTube is not an established press media, which already have millions of viewers, but through YouTube we can speak the truth and unveil cheating, so we can accumulate viewers and gradually get more and more attention. Now I would like to make a brief introduction of myself. My name is David Chien. I was born in 1953 at Taipei City, and after college education I went to United States for graduate study. I got my master's degree in civil engineering from University of Texas at Arlington. Then I got the professional engineer's license and worked in States for 16 years. And in the year of 1996, I went back to Taiwan to serve as a legislator of Taiwan's government, which is equivalent to a senator of federal government in states. Though I was born in Taiwan, I participated in China's democratization movement in the year of 1986, which was 35 years ago. I joined the first China's democratization organization called Chinese Alliance for Democracy, abbreviated to CAD. And after the June 4th massacre, many student leaders and dissidents fled to the free world, and they founded the biggest China's democratization organization, the Federation for a Democratic China, abbreviated to FDC. And I was elected as the chairman of the supervisory board of FDC in her founding conference. So I am a senior member in China's democratization movement. And even when I returned to Taiwan, I held annual activities to invite overseas Chinese students and dissidents to visit Taiwan to study Taiwan's democratization and modernization. But since DPP became ruling party, I was no longer allowed to hold these activities because I have openly claimed myself for years to be anti-Taiwanese independence. And in the last 5-6 years, I have been criticized by Taiwanese scholars and my ex-colleague in China's democratization movement as a traitor or pro-communist. Actually, I have never praised Chinese communists, and I have never agreed with communism system. But in Taiwan today, only if you disagree with Taiwanese independence, they will put a red hat on your head and call you the partner of Chinese communists. They use dichotomy to define you because they believe you should support Taiwanese independence if you are really anti-communism. And you are for sure pro-communist if you disagree with Taiwanese independence. Today, people in Taiwan are forced to take sides, and there are only two sides for your choice. Either supporting Taiwanese independence or communism, or defying Taiwanese independence or communism. There's no third choice. And they don't believe in this world. There are people who are both anti-communism and anti-Taiwanese independence. Today, more than 80% of China's democratization activists already turn to support Taiwanese independence government because anti-communism activities need money. So they rely on DPP government for financial support. So from today on, if any China's democratization activists criticize us and call us flatterer of Chinese communists, I will retort them and ask them, aren't you guys the flatterer of Taiwanese independence government? If any pro-Taiwanese independence people call us flatterer of Chinese communism, I will retort them, aren't you flatterers of the United States and Japanese imperialism? Today, while fighting with Taiwanese independence government, we can't get a penny from Chinese communists. But those pro-Taiwanese independence people get all kinds of privileges from DPP government, and so-called China's democratization activists also get some leftovers. Today, I would like to ask my ex-fellow activists, while we have been fighting for China's democratization for decades, what do we really count on to continue our battle? My answer to this question is, we rely on Chinese people's will to fight this battle. If we look back 60 years ago, Mao Zedong's regime was unprecedentedly cruel in human history. And later on, when Deng Xiaoping was in power, the June 4th massacre shocked the whole world. So back then, we stood up to carry out the mission to promote China's democratization. Though it was a tough job, but we were proud to carry on that mission because we were very sure the big majority of Chinese people were on our side. They agreed with our mission. They were with us. But today, while Americans use anti-communism as an excuse to strike China and humiliate Chinese people in every way they can, and Taiwanese independence government also use anti-communism as an excuse to stimulate hatred to Chinese people and Chinese culture. Will most of the Chinese people fooled by their tricks? Will Chinese people agree with their dirty plot? I don't think there's any possibility. So if today's so-called China's democratization activists follow the United States government and Taiwanese independence government to wave their anti-communism flags and chant their pro-democracy slogans, would Chinese people believe their endeavor? No, no way. Chinese people will see through them and look down on them. If Chinese people disbelieve United States government and Taiwanese independence government, they would not believe those China's democratization activists either. So I would ask my ex-fellow activists, if your direction is 180-degree opposite to Chinese people's will, then what is this democratization movement for? I think this kind of democratization movement is indeed cheating. About 100 years ago, the communists pushed the communism to absolute value. So for the Great Revolution, all kinds of dirty and evil measure can be justified. So communists lie and cheat, steal and rob, burn things and kill people. But today, the world is turning upside down. Many people push the anti-communism to absolute value. So they can use anti-communism as an excuse to cover up their ignoble moral quality and pursue their selfish and evil purposes. But they can't cheat with their fraud. They just use their power to force people to accept their lies. Today, we will on one hand unveil their lies, and on the other hand, we will warn them. Your fraud is about to burst, because the world trend proves that your whole gang is rapidly weakening, and you are losing control of this world. Let's take a look at the United States. Today, United States very harshly accused mainland China for her long-delayed democratization and abusing of human rights. But we would ask Americans, if United States and her people are so determined in advocating democracy and human rights, then why did United States abandon free China and went to shake hands with Mao Zedong to do the normalization 50 years ago? Huh? Let's not forget, the Chinese Communist regime was going through the most terrifying political suppression back then. So every time when I think of the term normalization, I can't but laugh and get mad because this normalization is very, very abnormal. And also through this lie and joke, we can see every time when Americans want to do something absurd or contradicting their own principles, they would invent some beautiful names or terms to beautify and justify their evil purposes. Of course, many Americans would say that Nixon and Kissinger were too naive when they thought they can help Chinese communists to democratize. But this is again a lie. Because the purpose of Nixon and Kissinger's normalization plan was not to help China, but to seek help from China. Because back then, Russia's military strength already surpassed United States. So United States have to seek help from China to jointly resist Russia. So today, United States anti-communism determination is exactly the same kind of lie and joke as their normalization plan 50 years ago. United States is always the same, fighting for their own interest in the name of international justice. But we would tell the truth to the whole world that American style of international justice is always false justice because they never have the real justice. As follows, I would like to talk about the number 2 international fraud gang, which is the DPP government in Taiwan. DPP is currently the ruling party in Taiwan. Actually, the relationship between United States government and Taiwanese independence government is dirty collusion. United States government helped Taiwanese independence government to gain power and become ruling party, then Taiwanese independence government in return serves United States government like an underling in this international mafia gang. So DPP government in Taiwan forces Taiwanese people to eat beef and pork with lactobacillus imported from United States. And DPP government used a huge amount of Taiwanese taxpayers' money to buy outdated ammunitions from United States at prices 3-4 times the international market price. So every year, DPP government will offer tens of billions of US dollars to her godfather, the great Uncle Sam. After becoming ruling party, DPP government execute more than 10 policies which contradicted their own advocations before they became ruling party. So we have identified DPP government as an international fraud gang for many years. DPP government steals Taiwanese resource and offer them to United States to please United States. And they colluded with United States government to cheat the whole world. Especially the fraud of President Tsai Ing-wen's doctoral essay is another international scandal. To cover up this fraud, Tsai Ing-wen had to lie again and again. And this case is really the serious humiliation to all Taiwanese people because we are so unfortunate to have an international liar as our president. From today on, we will unveil the lies and cheating made by United States government and Taiwanese independence government. Of course, we will also criticize many European countries and Australia as well as Canada, because we can see the reason why United States can get these Western countries to join her to create so-called international opinion is because the world trend has proven today not only China is overtaking United States, but Oriental civilization is overtaking Western civilization. So almost all Western countries panic and come out to support United States to defend the Western civilization. In the last 1 or 2 decades, there has been several famous international scholars who stepped out to criticize United States government as the head of international mafia. But I would say that these Western countries are nothing but underlings of the international mafia gang. Now, before I end the opening statement of Speaking the Truth Forum, I will make 2 additional comments. The first comment is, my English is indeed very poor. But when I see the United States and Western countries have dominated international press for many decades, only very few Chinese scholars can get their opinion out in English. That is why I have to use my poor English to speak out to the world. And I wish my poor English could encourage more Chinese scholars to speak out to the world in English, so the whole world can better understand Chinese people's thinking. The last point I would make today is, after starting Speaking the Truth Forum, we would like to invite American scholars and officials for discussions or debates. We can exchange opinions about history or world trend, and there will be no judges for our debates. because we don't have to determine who win, who lose. We just record the whole process and upload it to YouTube and let people see and hear the points and evidences from both sides. I hope every discussion or debate we have two participants on each side, so the discussion can be more objective and better coordinated. We would also require all participants provide copies of their ID, because it is meaningless to debate with somebody without ID and unable to be responsible for his or her opinions. Hereinafter, I provide an email address. If there's anybody who is willing to participate in discussion or debate, please contact us through this email address, which is spktruthcn@gmail.com. Let me repeat that again. spktruthcn@gmail.com. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you very much.